Hello, my name is Becky and welcome to my first YouTube video. You might know me from my blog, The Flutterfly Room. If you don't, there is a link in the description below. This is my first venture onto YouTube and to be honest I'm a little nervous as there's a certain distance between you and me guys on the blog that just doesn't exist in this format, but we'll see how things go. So this is completely experimental. I don't know if this will be my first and only vlogging experience or if there will be more videos, and if there are more videos I don't know how often I will do so. I've been thinking about recording a YouTube video for a while now, but as I haven't wanted to do a book haul as my first video, I've been a little lost what to do, and I came across this tag and I thought it sounded interesting, so it kind of gave me the momentum to record this and see what happens. I hope you guys enjoy this tag. So here goes. The tag itself is super simple. All I have to do is recommend books that I love which I would never have read had I not been required to do so. I can have read the books any time during my education, from elementary up through grad school, which I'm assuming means right from when I started school up to when I left. The only catch is the books chosen have to have only been read because I was required to do so. There are 3 books on my list, 2 of which contrast one another and one which is completely different that I read a lot later. The first book I want to talk to you about is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I'm going to take a wild guess and say if you're from the UK and are aged between 18 and 30, then this was probably also one of your required readings. I read it when I was in either year 9 or 10 as part of my English literature course, and I'm guessing it probably had something to do with either my SETs or GCSEs. But the thing that sticks out for me the most about this book was having to have it read aloud in class. It took forever to get through and quite honestly almost killed any liking I had for this book. But thankfully I kind of ended up enjoying it anyway. To summarise this book for those of you who haven't been lucky enough to read it or have it read to you, the story takes place in the 1930s in a small town in Alabama. It follows the story of 6-year-old Scout Finch and her family when her father Atticus is asked to be the lawyer for Tom Robinson, an African American who has been accused of raping a white woman. Looking at the book from today's perspective, To Kill a Mockingbird is a profoundly prejudiced book. However, it does give us an insight into the worldviews of the time, and personally I think it's important that we keep talking about, and of course challenging, racism and classism and sexism, which this book does in many ways. It's not perfect, but then I'm not sure anything is. And if you have been lucky enough to read this book and haven't had a chance to watch the 1962 film, which I believe stars Gregory Peck, then I highly recommend that you do so. It's a really good film and I think it does justice to the book. My second recommendation I read in conjunction with To Kill a Mockingbird, and it served as a contrasting read. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor is my second recommendation. The story is set at about the same time and place as To Kill a Mockingbird, 1930s American Deep South during the Depression. But this story is told from the point of view of Cassie, an African American. I don't know who set my required reading, but I would like to thank them for including both this book and To Kill a Mockingbird, because together they really do create an interesting view of the world at the time. In case you don't know, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry follows the story of Cassie Logan and her family who own and farm some land. The story covers Cassie's everyday life, at home and at school, Reading this together with To Kill a Mockingbird really shows how different life was for white Americans and African Americans. This story is the second book in a series, and I have read a couple of the others, but this was the only one that was required reading. In fact, after reading this book, I actually deliberately sought out in the school library the other books, which tells you how much I enjoyed it. I don't even recall how we did this in class. I think it was quiet reading, thankfully. But yes, highly recommend this book. My third and final book is a lot lighter in content than the previous two. Unfortunately, I no longer own a copy of it, so hopefully there is a picture somewhere on the screen right now. If not, there is definitely a link to this book and both of the others in the description below. My third recommendation is the first book in Philip Reeve's Mortal Engines quartet, Mortal Engines. I read this book as part of the children's literature model with the Open University. Mortal Engines tells the story of Tom Natsworthy, an apprentice in the Guild of Historians who lives in the city of London, which Reeves has reimagined as a great traction city that moves across land searching for resources and eating smaller cities. Yes, eating smaller cities. Doesn't that sound interesting? I had heard of this book, but I didn't actually plan to read it. The book fits into the steampunk genre, and as I don't have a good track record with science-esque books, I thought it was an interesting concept, but not for me. I'm glad that I did give it a go, though, as it is a brilliant read. The world is really interesting, and the way everything is at once both familiar and completely alien is brilliantly done. It is one of the older books in the genre, released in 2001, so if you haven't had the chance to check it out yet, because of all the exciting new releases, then I highly recommend that you do so. So, that's it from me and the required reading 101 tag. I'm not going to tag anyone as I don't know many of you guys, but if you'd like to do the tag, please leave a link below so I can watch your video. Thank you for watching. Bye!